Alright guys, time for another video. So today we're going to work on the Fairmont, and what I want to do is introduce the new direction that we are going with this project. So here it sits. It's been kind of in hibernation over winter, and if you've been watching the Fiat videos, you know that we have been robbing parts off of it in order to put on that. Also, I mentioned that this is no longer going to be a budget car. So let me show you what we got. So let's put this up. So right off the bat, you're gonna notice one gigantic change. Do you see it? I think you see it. So we have a massive turbo. Specifically, this is a VS Racing 80mm billet turbo. I just bought it. It was on sale, which is partially why I bought it. One, I wanted a big obnoxious turbo. I wanted it to be divided T4, and I wanted no back pressure issues. So if you guys are familiar with like a 7875, they just came out with their Gen 2 7875, and they are good to about 900 wheel horsepower. I don't see ever going quite that far with this particular car, but I don't want there to be any issues with back pressure. So the reason that is back pressure kills engines. The reason you see all the stock bottom end type builds where they're trying to push the stock bottom end as far as physically possible, the reason you see them go to such massive turbos is they don't want to deal with back pressure. So it's a 80mm compressor with a 87mm turbine and an 83mm. It's 87mm inducer, 83mm exducer. So it would be like a 80-83. This was actually cheaper than the 7875 at the time that I purchased it, and I may come to regret this, but it's a big, fancy looking turbo, and it's what I wanted, so that's what I got. So additionally, we are no longer going to stick the turbo way down here, and instead we are going to stick it higher. This is actually where I wanted to put the turbo on my Studebaker, but it ended up being further this way. I just like the compact, really tight look better personally, but we get an opportunity to do it on this one. So I guess I'll take the manifold off, as I've already started it. You can see right there, I've already started the manifold. So I guess I should talk about goals with the car. So why are we making all these changes? The car worked perfectly fine before. Well, the goals with the car are, I would really like the car to go an 8. So if you followed this build, you know that the car went a 998 at 134, and the turbo probably had a little bit more to give, but not a ton. So what I want to do is I want to push the stock engine as far as, I don't know if as far as it will go, but to a point that I become uncomfortable or it blows up, whichever comes first. So I would say 600 wheel horsepower would be where I would start to become uncomfortable. So that's what we're going to do. So it will either make 600 horsepower or it will blow up. And then the next phase will be to put a built engine in it. So I'm really hoping that with the VVT functioning that we will be able to get this giant turbo to spool. I know on my Studebaker it made a huge difference to the spooling performance. Now, granted, we were only running a smaller turbo, but we're going to give it a shot. So we're going to obviously put the turbo higher. That's one of the bigger things. That's more for aesthetics than almost anything. I mean, it really doesn't need to be like that. It works just as well down below. But I like having the turbo sit high just because when you pop the hood, people, lose their mind. So then we will put a larger intercooler on it as well. And then I want to fabricate a custom intake manifold. And then the goals are I'd really like to take it to Drag Week. I'd like to take it to as many opportunities that we have to get it in front of like 1320 video and that sort of thing, and maybe see if we can maybe grow the channel a little bit by doing that. But only time will tell. We're gonna have to see. But those are the basic goals. I want it to go an 8-second quarter mile. If it could make 600 horsepower, that'd be great. If we could do that all on a stock bottom end, that would be awesome. I have my, I'm a little skeptical whether it will do that or not, but the only way to find out is to try. So we're gonna try. All right, so the turbo has a T4 divided inlet, as I mentioned earlier, and so I went on the search. I wanted a divided T4 6-into-1 collector, well, basically dual 3-into-1. I couldn't find much of anything, as it doesn't seem like that's a very common thing to find in like a cast collector. I could have easily made one, but that's a lot of time and I'd rather, just buy something. So I found this. It's actually a designed for a 4-cylinder with dual wastegates. However, I am going to use these as inlets and radius this edge in here so that the flow comes in better. And we are going to run our wastegates somewhere else. I haven't quite figured out where yet. I may drill a hole here and have them come off like this and have tubes that come off, but this is our first time doing a stainless Schedule 40, I think, tubular manifold. We've always done like full-on tubular stuff. This will be the first time we've done the thicker stuff in stainless. We've done it with mild steel, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to laying this all out. I think it's going to come out pretty decent. I bought the flange off of, I forget what the website was, but I purchased that as well. It is stainless. So we're going to have an all stainless turbo manifold, which should be pretty cool. So let's get to work on that. Plans have changed a little bit since the beginning of the episode. I actually want to run the car without an intercooler. And I want to try something that I've always wanted to try, and that is running methanol. So the turbo will go directly into the stock throttle body. Well, probably not the stock throttle body, probably a 4-volt LS throttle body, but it will go into the factory intake, and I plan to make intake spacers which have an extra set of injector bungs in them so that we can run 12 injectors. On the first stage of injectors, I would like to run gasoline, and on the second stage of injectors, I would like to run methanol. It's something that a local hero around here, Frank Saponaro, I don't know if he created it, but he certainly has popularized it in drag week. And it's something that he does very successfully. His station wagon goes 6-second quarter miles at over 200 miles per hour. So obviously it works. Also, there's one other thing that I think is pretty special that we would like to run. We typically don't run it. There's one other thing that